It's Lil Baby.
Oh, cool.
Let's do it.
Welcome to Conversations with Chai. I'm your host, Ihram Chowdhury, aka Lil Baby Ram. Today for episode 29, I have with me, I have my guy DJ O Fresh, Omar Yusuf. Appreciate you doing this.
Of course, man. That was smooth.
Thank you. I just jump in now. First thing I want to say, and we were talking before, and we were kind of talking about how you're obviously going on tour now, a little mini tour.
Sure.
And you were talking about how you looked at your analytics. Yeah. And you then decided where you're going to tour. And that brought me to the first thing I wanted to talk to you about. I love that you do that. I love that you share your engagement stories.
For sure.
On your Instagram. Because you're figuring it out. You're obviously not the market, a straight up marketing guy, right. But you're learning the analytic game. And that's something that I don't think we really focus in on from the numbers. But I saw your breakdowns and I'm you're figuring it out.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, at some point it's I'm not the smartest guy in the room in certain situations. And so I'm there's 50,000 people following us now. Let me put this out there and maybe somebody has some insights that I don't have.
Mm-hmm.
Plus I like being transparent because it's really hard coming up to figure out what's real, what's not real, and what can I expect, right? Where's my audiences, things like that. So I'm if I can give that back out to somebody and at the same time somebody can be check this out, you got this engagement on this, focus here, focus there. Somebody always has some good advice for me too. So I just try to put everything out there, man, like an open book.
And I thought it was super helpful because you're not only just doing hey, this is my analytics, right? But it's the takeaways that you're having looking at your analytics. Because I think because we always see it, everybody who has an Instagram has the professional dashboard that they can just look at, right? And that they're providing I think that stuff is super powerful because back in the day, you'd have to do your own market research. But it's Instagram is providing, or YouTube is providing, or Spotify is providing, or TikTok is providing your data.
Yeah. They make it so easy for you to figure it out, right?
The one that really stood out to me was your I think you were talking about the days that you posted and how your perception of that was actually off from the data.
Yeah.
Because we intuitively kind of have an understanding, we know not to post at 4 a.m.
Right.
We just know that, right? Yeah. But there's other things where it's damn, should I post Monday at 5 o'clock? Is there a difference between Monday and 5 o'clock and a Tuesday at 2 o'clock, right?
Exactly.
And when you pay attention,
my feelings were completely wrong. I think I was posting Monday and Wednesdays.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is the time, because this is the time I'm on Instagram. But then it was oh, really, if you look at the analytics, it's Tuesday afternoons and Thursday mornings are the best time to post or whatever. Always depends on your followers too. So you take that into account. But I learned it.
That's the other part, right? Everybody wants the one size fits all, right? But it really does depend on your audience, right? I'm sure as you're looking through, you're where is your audience coming from, right? Because that completely changes the way that they use the internet, the way that they use social media. I realized that for this, it's US, New York, right? Yeah. But then it's also Toronto and India, right? Those are my the cities that really hit with me. And I'm but my India audience doesn't even use social media until a certain time in the day.
Exactly. So when we're trying to plan some things for London right now, so anything that we do London related or something that we expect the London crowd to interact with, I'm dude, I can't post when they're sleeping, right? I can't post at 7 p.m. our time. I gotta wait till either they're just waking up or find that median between what's happening in New York and what's happening in London. Is it morning here, afternoon there? Boom, that might be the best time to post. But since we've started doing those adjustments, our numbers have gotten, we had this wave, right? Where things were hitting back to back to back last summer. Just everything was going semi-viral, viral. And then it kind of hit this slump. And I was all right, I need to change something. And then changing the times we were posting and tweaking a few things, thinking about these analytics really help. So I tell everyone just look at your analytics and fix things along the way, because the same formula that you did 7 months ago, Instagram probably didn't update, and you gotta adapt to that and figure it out.
I love hearing that, right? Because it's a certain level of professionalism you have to bring to the thing that you do, right? Exactly. It's the first ones that you catch them and then you could maybe catch another one.
Yeah.
Right. But then can you I think that's the stupidest thing that we all focus on, just catching one, because people think that it immediately changes. You've caught. But it doesn't mean that you can just continuously now catch, right?
Dude, the best thing that happened to us is not going viral for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And so by the time that we had a video that really hit, and I'm talking hit worldwide, we already had 20 videos behind that. So when people went to my Instagram, it wasn't just my Chanya last remix. They got to see 16 other videos. And then the bookings started coming because they're oh, this guy does a lot of Afro beats and this kind of mashup. That's the kind of DJ I want for my wedding or my events. if I didn't have those 16 videos that didn't go viral, that one viral video would have gone to waste. And so we've seen that like with other artists and things like that as well. And like I think about things that have happened over the last year, and it's like one of the things I'm most thankful for, man.
No, for sure. Because like you need a catalog for people to fall back on, right?
Exactly.
Like you catching one, right? It's like, okay, cool. There's a Chaya Chaya remix, right? Lilly Singh commented. It's like, it is a huge fucking deal, right?
Yeah.
But then for you to actually build something sustainable on it, there needs to be some level of foundation like there, right? That's crazy. So like when you're now plugging away, obviously still DJing, still doing mixes, and they're not catching, is it an immediate adjustment? Like how are you kind of like approaching that?
No, it's a good question. So there's been a couple, especially like when we make EDM remixes, I've noticed those don't do nearly as well as like our hip hop or Afrobeats mixes. So it's tough.
That's a specific to you thing, I think, though.
It is.
I think
It's
for
fair.
me, like all of your hits are the hip hop mixes. That's honestly like why like I'm a fan of like yours, because a lot of people do the DJ mixes, right? But I think like the music that you fuse is more in line with like the stuff that I'm like listening to. Whereas like if we were talking about like Umsel earlier, right? Umsel's is like a very different mix style than yours.
Exactly.
Which is perfect, right? Like that's what you want. You want diversity and variety within even that.
Umsel kills it when it comes to like Bollywood on Bollywood, and then especially when it comes with Desi and dance music, he's like amazing at it. So I love like our dance mixes, but for some reason our crowd doesn't love it as much. Like it doesn't go as viral as some of the other ones. So I've noticed, okay, maybe I keep those in my back pocket and I'll just stick with hip hop, Afro beats. Like I still love that genre, right? I love those mixes. I'll do more of those and then sprinkle a little bit dance here and there, just to kind of tease the crowd a little bit and see if like we can make it work eventually.
Yeah, like you want to introduce like you definitely want to, even as like a artist, creative, right? You want to introduce different things into your arsenal, but like if your audience is telling you like, yo, this is what we're a fan of, right? Like you kind of have to give them that. Like there's like, I always joke around even for like the pod, right? It's like, yo, like my friends tell me, they're like, yo, you got to do like 4 for them and like 1 for you, right? Like I would love to do these like super esoteric, like people that like are just like, they might study something in like a school, right? But like my audience isn't there yet. I do want to give them the game, but you have to kind of sprinkle it in too, right? Like
100%. Dude, when I was, I started rapping first before I became a DJ. And one of the best pieces of advice somebody told me was like, stick to your niche. Like stick with your people. He's like, I know it sounds crazy, but like if you can build that community with the people that are like you or like in your like ethnicity, then you can eventually branch off and do your own thing. But he's like, start there, build that community and grow. And so that's how when I started DJing too, I was just doing hip hop music. I was a hip hop DJ through college and everything. And then eventually I was like, you know what? Like I've grown an appreciation for Desi music. Let me like niche down a little bit and do my Desi and Afro beats or Desi and hip hop and just sprinkle it. And then we started growing that way. And I was like, yeah, that was niching down and finding your audience is the best.
It's important to find the community that supports you. And it usually ends up being people that kind of are from the same places that we're from, right? Because like I like think about it even for like this pod. If I start just like trying to create like a general lifestyle pod, I'm not competing against every major podcaster, right? Whereas like what I like the way that I do it, very specific, but like it's also like it can expand outside of South Asians. Like even though like this is we're both South Asian and that kind of ends up being the shared thing, that doesn't mean that the game that you might drop here or the game I might drop here is not ubiquitous. Same way, right? Just because it's a Desi hip hop mix doesn't mean that it can't transcend different audiences, which it has, obviously. Right? Like,
and then you start pulling that audience in, like somebody that's not brown will start resonating with some of the mixes, right? For us. And then all of a sudden they're listening, and then you start doing things that are more American music, more English music, things like that. And then you can start branching out because you've started pulling that audience in a little bit. So it's like you kind of tease it a little bit, bring them in, and then you can start doing your own thing, like truly whatever you want to do. Right?
Yeah, and that's important to still teach that audience, like, yo, like there's more to this, right? Because you could create real fans of a different type of music, a different type of culture, like within, I think that DJing in that sense is so cool, right? Because like we're all like, I mean, I grew up in the era where it's like the DJs are the ones who decided what music was going to be popping.
True.
And now like with y'all having like real platforms, that's still true. Yeah. Like that really is still true.
Truly. I mean, social media is where people go first for what's the hottest songs right now, right? So it gives a responsibility to the DJs that are playing, like, hey, you get to dictate culture to a certain degree.
Bro, like, sick. Is it the Shub remix, right? Where every DJ was like essentially spinning like the Shub 8-hour record, right? But mixing it in. And it's like, oh, like a lot of them, the song was going to be huge regardless, but that definitely helps, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because it's like in these mixes with think about it. How many people never have heard Chaya Chaya?
Yeah.
Like the song Chaya Chaya. Like obviously a lot of people have heard the song Chaya Chaya, right? But think about like how many other people you exposed that to.
Yeah, true. Especially people like not in the culture that have heard it. They're like, oh shoot, like brown music kind of goes hard.
Yeah, like they came for the Burna Boy, right? And then it's like, oh, it's like mixed in.
Yeah, and vice versa too. A lot of people just aren't as familiar with, a lot of brown people really just love brown music and they're not as familiar with other things. So like also when I started, I was like, all right, I have a ton of friends back home that just don't listen to Desi music back in Texas, but they love hip hop. How do I get them to start listening to some of the stuff I do? Well, let me sprinkle some of that Desi music in there with like Drake, with J. Cole.
What's your music taste like? It's like definitely more hip hop centric, right?
I think it all started hip hop centric, especially with like Drake's probably one of my favorites, J. Cole, people like that, Kendrick Lamar. I think now it's like pretty eclectic.
Yeah.
I love like when I'm chilling, I'll just throw on some 2000s Bollywood. Like I love listening to Punjabi music. Gotta like try to listen to as much as I can. I listen to country music sometimes too, just being from Texas. But I think that's what helps like kind of figure out what could blend and what couldn't blend, right? If I'm not listening to different genres of music, then you're gonna hear it in my mixes. Like I'm only doing one thing. But I think one thing that's helped us a lot is just being very diverse in the type of mixes that we do and the artists that we choose to put on.
I think that like ends up being like really good for your ear, right? Like when you're thinking about some of these like mixes, it's important to have a diverse thing because otherwise, like I always talk about like the more unique or the more niche you could be, it actually serves better for you, right? Because we're in like the era where everybody could DJ, everybody could TikTok, everybody could podcast, right? Yeah. So like whatever uniqueness factor you can add, that ends up being like your edge across the entire thing.
Yeah, that's it. And I think our style of mixing is what is helping us be unique. But that's it. Like there's 1,000 DJs out there. We're not reinventing the wheel with mixing, right? I'm just putting out stuff that I like and putting my own flavor on it and then hoping that it resonates with people. And thankfully, I think we found like the way to do it. Kind of like everyone figures out their formula, right? And it's been successful. So we're trying to keep doing that.
And it definitely has resonated, right? Like it definitely has resonated. So we were talking about it earlier and I kind of want to get like the full breakdown because I want to understand like what that like looks like from somebody who's like gone through it, right? Sure. So you catch the Chaya Chaya, goes crazy, Lilly Singh comments, right? Yeah. Like whole thing goes crazy, does it like a mill, right? Yeah. That's when it like, before that, how were you doing in terms of numbers? And then like, what did it look like post that, right? Because now it's still, all of your stuff is essentially doing numbers now, right?
Now, most of the stuff I will say does numbers now, it's a big blessing. It's like, before that, I was like getting 1,000, 2,000 views per video. And like, to me, I was like, if I can just get 1,000, so I'm not stuck with 3 digits, like that's happy, right? And then we had this Drake mix that like did our first like 6-figure mix. It hit like 200,000, 300,000. Okay. We're like, okay, cool. I had one viral video and then nothing happened again, semi-viral. Then Chaya Chaya happened. As soon as Chaya Chaya happened, I didn't want to post for a while. I was like, I don't want to mess this up. Like, let's just let this.
Just let it cook.
Let it cook. Yeah. But then,
can you talk to me? Like, I have a question because I've never asked anybody who's gone through this, right? Like, when you see it catching, what does that look like? Like, I want to know what that looks, because I know what it looks like from like the current level, right? Like, I'd be happy when I hit like a 10K, right? Or like a 50K, right? But like, what does that look like as you're seeing it run up? Like, are you watching it go?
Dude, it's like, it's pretty stupid actually. Like, because the next 2 days, you're just like on your phone, just
watching it, right?
Like, dopamine, refresh. And I'm just like, you just like, on your Instagram notifications, it's just going crazy. Like every time you open the app, it's like 100, like followers, likes, this, that, and third. It's actually like terrible for you, right? It's like addicting.
But it really is like that, where it's just like crazy.
It really is like that, man. It's just like every time you refresh, you just see like 10s and 20s.
So was Chaya Chaya kind of on that trajectory? Like, did you see it? Like, when were you like, yo, like, oh shit, I think it's going?
No, Chaya Chaya took forever, bro. So like, it actually took me like, it took a week and a half for it to finally catch.
Really?
It only hit like 2, maybe 6,000 views in like the first week. And then it kind of like plateaued. Like some videos, it just happens that way. For whatever reason, like it took a week and a half and then that thing just kept going. It caught some algorithm. Somebody must have commented.
That's
somebody
so
shared it.
Weird.
And then that's why I tell people like, hey, don't take down your posts. Like just sometimes let them cook and just see what happens. Like,
so it did 6K first week?
First week.
And then what was it at after?
And then
like the week after, let's say.
Then it jumped by like 10K, 20K. And then eventually like the following week after that, that's when it really started running by like 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, just going up every day, 40,000, 30,000, 40,000.
Oh, so this was really like a long cook.
It was a long cook. Yeah, it wasn't an immediate satisfaction thing. So like when that happened, that was the first time I was like, oh, maybe it just takes time for things to go viral. And sometimes it does, and sometimes it hits immediately too. But that took longer. then the next video, I was like very like apprehensive to post it. We did this remix with WizKid and Dilbar, and I was like, all right, let's see what happens. I posted it, and that one went up to 100.
Did you have that one in the tuck? Like, did you like after catching that one, were you like, yo, I'm about to hit him with this next, or you just had it?
Not even like I just made it. It was so crazy. I made it because I was like, I just love that WizKid song a lot, and then I just wanted to find like a sexy desi song to put on top of it. I didn't think it was gonna hit at all because I actually like listened to it and I was like, I like this, but it doesn't seem like you'll figure out what would be mainstream and what wouldn't. And that ended up being like a really popular one for us. It didn't hit 1 million, but it hit like 100,000, 200,000.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit, is everything gonna hit 200,000 going forward?
Yeah.
And then the other ones, like I think they did okay. They did solid, like better than anything we did before. And then like 5 videos later, we did this Drake remix with Shub, Kendrick, and that truly like went. That was 1.6, I think, right now. And that's the one that most people know me by. They're like, oh, man, Drake mix. I'm like, yeah, that's the one. That's the one. But I hear a lot of DJs spinning that one. And every time I hear that, I'm like, yo, that
has to be a crazy feeling, right? Because your mixes are now definitely getting like played too, right?
It's pretty sick, man. Like, I appreciate when people like some DJs from other countries that follow me now, they'll play it and wherever they're mixing, and then they'll tag me. And I'm like, that's crazy. Like, I can hear this mix playing in Dublin right now. That's kind of nuts. Like something I made in my bedroom in Miami. So that's pretty humbling. Like it's pretty sick. But now it's just like the problem with social media is like you get these dopamine rushes from mixes that do really well. Then what happens when it doesn't do well? Like sometimes you like go over this very low place, right? So I've had to learn to really balance that. Anything I post, I'm like, either whether it goes viral or it doesn't go viral, like it's all good.
You should be out of that mode. Like, honestly, like you should just be out of that mode because of where you're currently at, right? Like you have like a real service to provide. Like you got to reground yourself. Like I always say this, right? Yeah. Like you have a true physical service that you're providing on a regular basis, right? Like you're getting a real bag to do a real thing, right? Because the social media stuff, like it ends up becoming a trap when that is like the only focus, right? Because you have nothing else to like point to or nothing else to fall back to where it's like, yo, like this is the thing that I can like say, okay, it doesn't matter, right? Because like a lot of it is just like, it is purely a dopamine hit, right?
Yeah, no, 100%.
But you got to like reground yourself. Like you're always providing a real service. Like you're always going to be able to DJ, right?
Oh, 100%. I think if this happened to me like 7 years ago or 5 years ago when I was a little younger, I think it would have probably messed me up. Like the whole social media algorithm and like some videos doing well and some videos not doing
and just doing it for the social media.
Just doing it there. And just like not being mature enough to handle it, to be honest. Because you get a lot of DMs, you get a lot of like likes, you get a lot of people like trying to like subscribe to you and figure out what's going on and like whether it's like riding the coattail, whatever it might be, right? People are trying to holler at you. If I was a little more immature, I probably would have like went down the road.
Yo, I love that you said that, right? Because I always believe, I don't know if it's like a quote, somebody said like, yo, like God doesn't give you like the life that like you want until you are the person that can live that life.
Yeah,
right?
100%.
Because what you're saying is so real, right? Like if I got like, because I've been trying to do this for like a minute. Like this is not my first podcast. This is like my 3rd or 4th.
Oh, right on.
Right? But if any of those caught the way that this did at the age that I was and at the mindset that I was, bro, shit would have been bad. Like shit would have been bad.
I 100%. And I talked to my wife about this too. I was like, man, like I was trying to rap through my 20s. Right? And we did some very successful things. We didn't hit like the Drake level, but I think we like had a pretty good career. And I was like, I always wonder like, man, I did like 10 years of hard work. Why did nothing like really hit the way I wanted to? And then I think back at like the degenerate that I was in my 20s, and I was like, dude, if I would have made it then, I would have like ruined everything. I would have lost it all in a year. So like I really reflect on that. Like,
and then you're thankful. Like you're like, thank God I didn't get it then, because yo, at the time you're just like, yo, I want it, right?
Exactly.
And then you're like, oh, thank God I didn't get it then, because if I got it then, I would have just ruined it anyway.
Yeah, and it just takes growth and reflection to figure that out, and then you figure out like everything happens for a reason.
You realize like God made you really wait for like a reason, right? Yeah. To be like, yo, like I can't even give this to you right now. And like, exactly. But the tough part of it then is then when you do have the things, right, is consistently refining that person.
Yeah.
Like, like I always say that, like, I feel like I've had like a lot of growth in like my 20s.
That's awesome.
Right? But I'm like, yo, I would love to, I don't want that to just be this. Yeah. I want to continue to like grow as a person. Cause like what other life could I like have?
Yeah, no.
Right, like what? And I'm not. We're obviously talking about like career stuff, right? But like even in my personal life, can I have an even better relationship with my mom? Yeah. Can I have an even better relationship with my wife? Right, like because that ends up being such an important part of the journey.
Oh yeah, man. It's like your foundation. It's your family, your support. I think, again, going back to like, I don't think I had like even the relationship I have with my wife now, I think we're stronger than ever. If this happened to me 7 years ago and all this was happening, like, would we have made it through the storm and gone through our bumpy parts? I don't know, because I was just an idiot back then. So truly, like, I owe a lot of credit to even my success, to like the support that my wife gave me when I like didn't have a job, had no money coming in, and was like, hey, I'm gonna try to DJ. Let's see how this works out. And she didn't bat an eye. She was like, yeah, like, go do it, man.
Yo, because I think that's such like I'm so glad that you said that, because that's such like a reaffirming like feeling as like a human, right? And especially as like a creator, right? Be like, yo, I know I'm delusional enough to believe that I can do this.
Exactly.
But the fact that you who have that's how I always verify. Like I always like verify and check my crazy against my people's.
Yeah.
Because I'm all like, I hope that y'all are rational. Like, because if I'm crazy and this is all crazy, like, and I'm just convincing myself to do this, like that's like one thing. I would hope that y'all are rational, but to have somebody look at you and be like, okay, yeah, I got you. Like, yo, go do that.
Well, the thing is, to make it in anything you're doing, podcasting and music, you have to be crazy. Like, you're the only one that sees what the end goal could be. Everyone else is looking at you like, dude, are you in reality? But you can't be in reality. You got to be a little bit outside of reality. And then hopefully you have those people in your life that can give you a little bit of foundation, but still like let the leash off so that you can do your thing. And I think that's like the recipe for success.
That's the tragedy that you kind of have to accept, right? That nobody is actually going to see the vision. Like every day, you're just essentially trying to show them the thing that you've seen in your mind and see in your mind every day, right? I'm like, I can't even really tell y'all what it looks like. I just have to consistently try to work to make sure that the reality looks like that vision, right? Like it has to look like that. Like that's all this is, right? Every single thing I've already envisioned how it's like going to go. It's whether I can just execute to that vision.
Yeah. Can you put in the baby steps to get there? I'm sure you thought about this pod a long time ago. You've been through a couple pods. You kind of know where you want to go with it. Last year when I was sitting in my apartment and we were trying to figure out like what the next step is, I was already envisioning, okay, after this Chain thing hit, is there a possibility for us to do a tour? Like, could we go to different countries and go find some fans here and do these small shows, 50, 100, 200? And then now, like a year later, I'm like, okay, the vision's coming to fruition because I knew I had to do these 100 steps. And someone was crazy enough to believe in me too. And I was crazy enough to put the plan in motion. And it's a mixture of things that just all come together at the right time.
It's crazy. And like, you don't even, like, it's so tough to like rationalize because you always know what the move kind of is, right? Because of the vision. But then like, it doesn't make sense because I'm like, oh, it made sense that I was like in that spot and I chose to be at that venue at that time talking to XYZ person because it is part of all the little baby steps.
Oh yeah, man.
For that vision, right? I'm all like, yo, like the reason I just did a random speaking this morning for like, yo, shout out to Suede for like his launch party, right?
Nice.
But I was like, oh, like I knew that I would have to always do something like this.
Oh yeah.
Like I knew that this was going to be a part of the journey.
100%. And that's
when the opportunity came up, I took it, right? Like I didn't force it. It happened through universe, organically, whatever you want to call it, right?
Yeah.
But that's kind of how it happens, right? Like all the opportunities that you're getting now, like you've probably envisioned them, but it's like when the opportunities come. Some of it is making it happen, of course.
100%, man.
But some of it is also like when the universe lines you up for that step.
Exactly. But like to your point, like you got to put in the work. You got to just be in the right places. You got to like, you can't just sit in your room and daydream all day either.
Yeah, no, but
you got to be out.
But that's why, like you said, like you tried to rap all your 20s, you did those things, right? Even that is a part of the current journey, and we don't know where that leads into, right? Like because you have that background in music, right? That probably made you a better DJ.
I tell people like if I wasn't rapping, I wouldn't really know. Like you learn the flow of a song. You have to. I spent so many freaking hours just learning songwriting and like just understanding the foundations of a song and the structure and stuff like that. There was a time where I was like, oh man, did I just waste all that time doing this? But then now when I'm making my mixes, I'm like, I know exactly how this should drop or how I should remix this, how I should mash up this. Because if I was writing this song, this is how I would do it. This is how I would rap it. I think it's like one of the big factors that I have in being a better DJ now.
Bro, like you don't even know how God be prepping you for the thing.
Crazy.
Like I was talking about like people are like, yo, how are you able to do these things where like come on stage or talk to like, you know what I'm saying? And I'm all like, yo, when I'm 6 years old, right? My dad is making me practice speeches to give at like random Bengali community events, right? To like 500 people. And I'm a 7-year-old.
That's incredible.
Like I'm talking memorize this shit for 3 minutes and then say it on stage in front of a bunch of people you don't know. I'm like, yo, you think this is terrifying? As a 7-year-old, that's terrifying. But I'm like, yo, I didn't even realize that was like, God was laying that path even then.
Exactly. Look at you now, man.
You have to be able to do it, right? Like, because and it's important to look back at like you had a whole other career in your 20s,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And to look back at those things and not look at them as like failures, right? Because that's where the healing of it comes from, right?
Yeah.
Not looking at it as a failure, right? Like, yo, I learned from that. We talk about like, yo, degeneracy in our 20s, right? But I'm like, yo, I'm so glad. I'm so glad I got through all of that and got through it safely. Because, yo, you know what I'm saying? Got through it safely too, right? Because now I'm here at 27 and I have a real opportunity. Yo, maybe I can finally take advantage of it and not fuck it up.
Exactly. That's it, man. Honestly, and it sounds like, I hate to put it that bluntly, like, you know, we did this and that, but like, just keep it real, you know? Like, we have to go through a lot of shit to get to like the goal at the end of the road. And hopefully that road is long for us. Like, we can enjoy the fruits of our labor going over. But if you don't go through the mud, you're not going to really understand or appreciate what it's like at the end. And you're not going to get there.
And people's budgets, it's like all comes in like different seasons. Like I always look at like, damn, like there's people that I look at that have like what I've deemed to live like very like perfect like lives. Like they've always been like solid, right? And I'm like, damn, I'm envious of that. But I also don't know what they're going to do in like a year, 2 years, 5 years, what they're going to be equipped to do, what challenges, and maybe even what challenges they faced quietly.
No, for sure. Everyone's got their own journey.
Everyone's got their own journey. Because I used to have like a very harsh view on my like life, straight up. Like I had a very, very harsh view on like how I've lived my 20s.
Okay. Tell me about it.
I just, again, a lot of it feel like wasted, regret, like upset about like, you know, more like, yo, I was like, damn, like that's not even really me. Right. And like understanding like who I am today. And I'm like, damn, that really isn't me.
I got you.
Right. Like, and it's
growth.
like, or growth, hopefully. Right.
Yeah.
But I think the harshness of it is like something that like you have to get out of. Right. Because then it just only has you like looking back.
It's like, dude, you just gotta, it sounds kind of cheesy, but you just gotta learn to like forgive yourself. Like, hey, whatever happened, like it's okay, accept it, understand that it was part of your journey, and then realize that there are probably steps to make you a better person.
I think like the growth part, because you're probably seeing it now on like a very practical level on like the business application of it. I look at it as like mistakes. Like, bro, I've made expensive mistakes.
Sure,
But I'm like, damn, like hopefully that expensive mistake is less expensive.
no,
Clears up for a much less expensive thing in the long run.
it will. I firmly believe, dude, if you just put in the work and you're consistent, things will work out in your favor. At least how God planned it to work out. And hopefully that's the way that you're envisioning too. But expensive, like I resonate like figuratively and literally.
Literally. No, yeah, I'm talking, bro. I'm talking literally like very expensive mistakes. Like I look at deals that I've negotiated poorly,
100%.
like just fuck ups. Right?
It's all part of the learning process. But you're so much smarter now because you went through that. And if we didn't go through that, we would just be naive.
Yeah.
So many things. There's some people that get very fortunate and they don't have to go through all that and they're killing it. But the reality is most of us will have to go through something. And I think it makes us appreciate everything at the end.
Yeah. And it primes you for, bro, like you know what you're doing now, like to try to survive as a DJ, like thrive, provide as a DJ, right?
Yeah,
it takes like work, like everything else, right?
Like
everything else. So it just really depends on where you want to put the work.
Exactly, bro. Exactly. And then at the end of the day, man, if you love it, you love potting, you love DJing, this isn't work. Really, it's work, but it's like you're passionate about it, man. You do it for free. Like you want to do it, right? So
you've done it for free. I've done it for free, right? Like you know what I'm saying? Like I've been doing it for free. I'm still doing it for free, right? Like ain't nobody paying me a dime. Like write some checks. I need more checks. Nah, like, but like it's such a thing that I like. I'm glad that like to hear from another creator. I always say that there's like kindred spirits amongst like anybody who's like trying to create, right? Because you truly understand and like really understand like the journeys 100%. Each of those like people like face.
Well, one thing I love about this is like you said you're on episode 29. That's awesome. I love our people. I love everyone, right? I meet a lot of people that are on episode 1, 2, mix 1, 2, 3. And I love the passion that they have. But then when it comes to like episode 10, they're like, all right, I'm done. The fact that you're even on episode 29.
Bro, you got to outlast. You probably see that too. You talked about like, let's go back to there was a slump, right? You caught 2 massive ones and then there's a slump.
Yeah, there was.
And then what? If you just stopped, you're like, damn, I'm no longer getting numbers.
Some people would. And like, it's that point, there's like this is like a big extrapolation. There's like a famous Snoop Dogg quote where someone was asking Snoop, like, how are you still relevant in 2024? Snoop's been around since like the 90s, popping. And he was like, man, every like 7 or so years, I find a way to reinvent myself. And you're like, God damn, someone at that level is already thinking about how are they always like constantly need to stay fresh or reinvent themselves. And so bringing that down to like even just the small scale that we're on, I'm like, all right, it maybe not 7 years, but like I need to find a way to not be too proud to fix something that I'm doing, or not be too proud to even reinvent myself if my numbers are just stalling completely. How do I just keep things fresh and keep things moving? And that's the one problem I have. I love my OGs, but there's a lot of OGs out there that don't want to reinvent themselves.
Bro, they blockbuster. They blockbuster. That's how you get like left out. Like that's like really like on a very practical level, what you're saying is a very, very real thing, right?
Yeah.
People like what you're saying earlier in terms of like, yo, you need to work hard, but you also need to be smart. You need to go back to the drawing board and like figure it out, right? Like I always talk about like, yo, like don't just fucking come on and just pod, right? And do the same thing. You're gonna add something to the game
every time.
Add something to the game, because then like those people like also never make it past that, because that's like literally a recipe for failure.
Yeah.
If you're just doing the same thing, like, and you're not adding to it, because what you're talking about is like, yeah, you need consistency, but you also need a game plan and intelligence. Yeah. You have to be even if you don't have all the answers, trying to figure out your analytics.
You have to. And your audience changes. You get older, your audience gets older. Sometimes you need to bring in like the new audience, the younger audience too. And if you're just stuck in your old ways, you're never going to do that. You're only going to have like this one demographic that maybe rocked with you some years ago, and maybe they're just kind of getting too old to like really rock with you now with this type of stuff you're doing.
Which is why I think it's so sad. Like when we talk about like, I think about a lot of older wedding DJs. Some of them have fleshed out real careers, but some of them just died with the times. And then they had to go get like a real job, or they have to go own another business, right? Yeah. And it's like, oh, like if they wanted to, and fine, yeah. But I hope the game didn't retire you because you...
No, for sure.
Just retired.
Dude, there's going to come a point where both of us, 10 years from now, there's going to be another 16, 18-year-old kid that's going to reinvent the whole thing. And we're going to have to make that decision of looking at them and be like, do I want to learn and still stay fresh, like what they're doing, and figure out my own twist to it? Or am I just going to be stuck in my ways and keep doing what I'm doing? So like, there's never any hate for the OGs. I look up to my OGs, and that's the reason why like I think I am where I am, is just learning from them. But I love the ones like, even ones that I know will reach out and be like, hey, like, teach me like how you're doing this thing, or like, what do you think about this? And I'm like, yeah, like, I love that you're not too proud. You're so successful, but you're not too proud to ask me a question who doesn't have nearly as much success as you had in your whole career. And I think that's what we all just kind of need to do, is like, stop being so proud. All of us, like, we can all learn from each other. There's enough bread for all of us here to eat. Like, we don't have to be so cutthroat with each other.
Bro, it's like a lot of it is taking like your ego out of it, right? Like I think a lot of anybody who has, I don't say this in a negative way, I even say this about myself. Like I think anybody who has like a creative thing, like there's like a little bit of ego there to drive that, right? Like, because otherwise like the person who's delusional enough to envision the visions that these people envision, like there's a little bit of ego, right? Exactly. But when it comes to the business, you have to put all of that to the side. Then you have to rebase yourself in reality.
Oh, 100%. Dude, yeah, we're in the entertainment industry, both of us. There's going to be a little ego for us to like have our drive. But knowing when to put that ego aside and learn, and then knowing when to turn it on, is I think where a lot of people fail to figure out. And
that's a very practical business skill. Like learning when you need to talk your shit is a very and that's where a lot of you need to like learn, right? And I say that about South Asians because we're such like of a kind people. Like we like don't like to step on toes. It's like a cultural thing, right? So, but I'm like, there's a real art and science to talking your shit. Cause like I always say, like I always bring it back to like money and deals, right? I'm like, y'all are actually, it's not that you guys don't want more money. Of course y'all want more money out of the deal. You actually think that you deserve that, but you're too scared to say that. You're scared to like say, yo, I'm him or I'm her and demand that.
Yeah. And you know, in fairness, like I still struggle with that at times as well. But I think it's a learning process. I think truly like the first wave, there's been some people that have popped through, but truly like the first collective wave to really start breaking these boundaries within the South Asian community. And it's pretty sick to see like there's so many of us now trying to do cool things and being successful at it. But I think we're still learning like, when do we talk shit? And then when do we like stay humble?
The reason that you just said though is exactly why I'm so like vocally critical though, because I look at it at that. I look at this as the first collective wave to go up, right? Yeah. But that means I need everybody around to do amazing, impeccable business, right? Because I need everybody. Like we're both in the entertainment industry. We both do different things, but we both contribute to this ecosystem. Exactly. But as big as this ecosystem is, it's really dependent on how much we all contribute to it.
That's fair.
Not pure, and it's not, I'm not saying purely financial, but it is resources. It is like, it would be cool if like there's a bunch of South Asian clubs that you could like, okay, like yo, like let me spot my boys in, right?
Yeah.
If you had that, whatever, right? So I look at, that's why I'm super critical, because I'm like, for us to be able to do those things, it requires everybody to be on their P's and Q's.
Well, I love that you're like observant of that, and you made that observation. Like another problem with us is I think we're all kind of prideful against each other sometimes too. Like so many times, like even back home, you're like, you see other brown people and you want to be either competitive with them or you don't want to be associated with them because I don't know if it's a stigma or just kind of how we grew up. But we just all, like I said this before, there's a billion of us in the world.
Bro,
right?
there's a billion of us yo.
We should be able to run things,
bro.
man.
People I don't know if people have put this together, right? Rihanna just did the Ambani wedding, right? Like
Right.
we need to get out of this whole like scarcity mindset. That all comes from when things were scarce. Guys, South Asians are like some of the richest people in the fucking world right now.
Sure.
Like literally some of the richest people in the world right now. There's no scarcity. There's a shit ton of fucking money in just the community as a whole. So but for it to get to the creative things, because the money is there, people need to go build the products. Like think about it. There's people that are spending, I know regular people that have a regular job that are spending $500K to $1 million on a wedding.
You're not
The
wrong.
DJ is making a check off of that. Everybody is making a check off of that.
Not wrong.
And it's like, oh, that's going to exist. If that's how it is now, what does that look like 3 years from now when this collective is actually built out a little bit?
Exactly. The runway is big for us.
The runway is huge.
In any entertainment or space that South Asians want to do, we just need people to go out there, do good work, and be confident. And then we need to work together.
Bro, isn't it crazy? Like I think about like the Ambani wedding is really just spending me for a loop. I'm like, yo, y'all don't think it's insane that they got some of the most powerful, richest people in the world to just show up to India for this thing? Like that's insane. Like Zuckerberg don't come out for anything.
Dude, I was like, oh, who's
Rihanna's partying with Shah Rukh Khan and like it's like, yo,
It's
but
crazy.
And that's just in obviously like South Asian India, right?
Yeah.
But South Asians in the US, that's not a joke either. Everyone I know, you went to school in Texas. Everyone you know, probably a software engineer, making like $250,000 maybe, right? Like there's a lot of people making a lot of money. And it's like, and I hate talking about it in the sense of money because it makes me sound like it's just about the money, right? But
Yeah.
for me, it's the ability, like, yo, we should be able to do something creative for the rest of our lives.
I agree. The problem, I'm glad you said that. We need to be more transparent about money, I think. Like South Asians, so much of what I'm tried to do over the years has been like guessing. How much should I charge? How much are people really making? How much, whatever. Just because there's a stigma in South Asian communities about talking about money, about how much you're making, things like that. And I feel like if we're all just a little bit more transparent on these things, like we could take a lot of the guessing game out. I like that you're at least talking about money or bringing it up. I don't think it makes you money hungry. I think our culture needs to like be a little more transparent about money.
And the guessing game is such a disservice. I found out when I started talking like shop around like certain deals like for the podcast, right? Yeah. And like obviously like Jungly sponsors like the last 10 minutes of this like show, right? When I'm having these conversations and I'm talking to people, I'm realizing like, oh, you guys are all actually negotiating against yourselves, and now you're negotiating against me because your rate is too low because we don't talk. You
true.
actually have no idea how much money that this brand is supposed to pay you.
That's fair. That's fair.
And I was like, yo, if y'all talked about it, somebody could I would have told you like, yo, that's a bad deal.
Yeah.
Like that's a bad deal. Because I'm super open and transparent about my numbers because I like want people to consistently push those numbers. It's not a pride thing. I don't give a fuck how much the money this makes, right? This is like, but it's literally just, I want y'all to go then push the bar. You should be able to look at me, be like, yo, Ihram got half a rack or Ihram got a rack. I want 1.2 because I'm him.
No, sure. Of course.
Right?
Get paid your fair value. But like people are just guessing, right? They don't really know, or people don't want to talk amongst each other. Like you're very open about it, but there might be a lot of people that aren't. And so I get there's a level of like people want to be secretive and share, like not share too many secrets, but like I feel like we're at ground zero, man.
But it's a disservice to them too, because they're probably losing out on money too, right? That's why like collective bargaining, like that's why every time an NBA contract comes out, everybody talks about it, or an NFL contract comes out, everybody talks to it, because then it's like, oh, Patty Mahomes made 50 this year. When the cap was this, I know what to ask for next time. If they didn't,
we need a South Asian collective bargaining agreement for everything.
I think it's just a transparency thing. But I hope that we're obviously talking about it on a very like general like level. But I hope that you're, and I'm sure you are, having those conversations about money with your circle of like creatives, right?
Yeah.
Like I hope that like me and you could like we'll talk shop too, because I'm very curious, right? Because I understand certain parts of it, and I'm all like, damn, I really wonder what I'm still charging. I really wonder what Fresh is charging, right? Because like I know how much I think that they should be charging.
Sure.
Right? Are they there? If they're low, maybe I want to hear it, right? Like so we can
always down to chop.
Yeah.
Even like other DJs ask me, even our clients, like I break it down for them. I'm like, hey, like this is how much I charge. So out of your like huge quote that you got for your wedding, because weddings generally are kind of expensive, I get this much. This is how much one speaker costs. This is how much an uplight is. And this is your breakdown. Like, I'm very honest and I want to be transparent with people because, you know, at the end of the day, like, I'm going to tell you what I'm worth or what I think I'm worth. If you want to pay it, awesome. If not,
yeah, that's because you have to, I know my value level now. That's because you know I'm not that I know my value level, right?
That's fair.
Most people don't get past that in the mindset, right?
Yeah.
Like it isn't like even before this was something, like even now, right? Like this, I talk a certain way about this because I know the value just regardless of if anyone else knows the value, right?
Yeah.
But it's important to get to that stage so you can even say that. Because the person who isn't confident about their rate, it's because they don't think that the rate makes sense.
Well, that's the thing. I feel like you need to, first of all, you should be confident. Like if anyone's charging you for something, like as the person that's charging, you should be confident in what you're doing. And then if you're not confident, ask questions. Talk to somebody in the industry come talk to me if you're a DJ and you're just trying to figure things out. I'm happy, like hit my DMs. I'm always happy to chop about it. But I want us all to get to a point where we're confident in what we're charging. Of course, there might be some negotiation. I'm not saying I don't negotiate. No one negotiates. I'm not even saying I don't do things for free. I do things for free all the time.
Yeah.
But it's just like, it's just a matter of what is it? Let's talk about it and just be confident in what you think you're worth.
Yo, listen, I love that y'all negotiate. I have the same conversation with Amsel. I need y'all to not negotiate your rates. No, I'm so fucking serious right now, right? Because like listen, I get that. Like we've all done favors for friends on the free, right? Whatever, right? Yeah. But I'm like, it is a disservice.
Okay.
It is a disservice, right? Because when you negotiate, like it's different if somebody's your budget and it just aligns with you, of course, right? Sure. But for a random Joe Schmo, you cannot negotiate the rate.
I respect that opinion.
Like it has to be like it just has to be, right? Because you guys like set a market for DJs. Right. Because then like somebody's gonna come around. I see this in the podcasting space, I see this in the creative space. Yeah. If you ask for a certain number, every DJ below you is now gonna have to totem themselves on that.
Yeah.
Because then they can go say like, yo, he has X amount of followers, he has X amount of base, that's his rate. Why are you asking for this? So if you don't ask for your max,
that's you know
it's a real ecosystem thing for me, right? And I think like you guys are some of the totem pole leaders in that, right? Like y'all have to be the ones like that are very like let somebody else negotiate their rate. Like I promise you and Amsel will get booked, right? Like let somebody else negotiate their rate and play that, right? It's just for me, it's like yo, like especially you guys who are so like cemented in the way that obviously y'all still building, right? But still so cemented in what y'all doing. It's like yo. Hold that shit firm.
All right, you heard it here. We're not negotiating.
We're not negotiating rates. If you negotiate a rate, ask me first, right? Be like, I need a real reason why you can't pay him because I know how much y'all made off this event, right? Like that'd be the worst feeling though, because I see the numbers on the other side. Like I do some random events in the city, and I'm all like, oh, I see the numbers on the other side, and I'm all like, y'all should not have taken that. Yeah. I do the deals where I just connect people, right? Yeah. And I'm hearing about both sides because everyone sends me their contracts, and I'm looking at it. I'm like, first of all, you shouldn't have paid that, and you should have asked for a lot more, right? Because it should be a fair, equal distribution of this bread.
It should be fair. I agree.
It should be fair. I don't necessarily want to say equal. It has to be an equitable distribution of this bread.
100%. And you know, business can be a little cutthroat. I'm like very generous myself. Sometimes my wife's the one handling the deals, or my manager handles the deals. Sometimes I handle them directly, but for me, it depends like on the person who I'm dealing with. If it's someone I'm trying to really build a long-term relationship with, maybe I'll cut him some slack here and there and be like, I know for the long term, this is good. But if it's a random Joe Schmo, sometimes I'm like, you gotta value your time. Do I have another opportunity at the same time? Things like that. It all kind of comes into play. So it really depends.
But absolutely, right? Yeah. But my thing is like when I see like somebody who's like hosting an event or like the bar itself, right, making X amount of money, I'm like, why is the photographer working for free then? Or why is the DJ negotiating his rate? It's not, it would be one thing if it was a true budget constraint and you wanted to work with this person, brand, whatever.
Yeah.
Right? That's a real thing. It's like, you know what? Like, for example, like we chopping it up, right? It's like, okay, like, yo, off the strength, right? But that's like one thing. It aligns, whatever, right? But it'd be different if that thing was making X amount of money and then you're like, oh, wait, I'm negotiating my rate when you're making because then it's like the negotiation is not, oh, can you throw this event whether I negotiate or not? It's how much profit you're taking away out of this.
Yeah, I mean, I've been on the wrong end of a lot of those deals too, where I'm like, oh, I negotiated this really far down for you, and I know you had the money to pay me what I asked for initially, and it's not a great feeling. So it's like I think really comes with experience too, man. You just got to go through enough to figure out, okay, like this is where I can stand firm and this is where I can't. But even when I'm doing events now, we're doing our own shows, and I'm hiring photographers and videographers. I try to have a transparent conversation when if and when I can't meet their budget, if they're asking for X amount, and I'm like, hey, I can only give you this. I'll tell them straight up, like, hey, if we sell this many tickets and I make this much money, because I want to be transparent with you, I'll pay you this much. But if you're willing to do it for this much for now until I figure out if I can really reach this budget, like, I would love to work with you. And sometimes they'll say yes, sometimes they'll say no. But if I can't meet someone's budget, I just try to be.
But it's the transparency aspect,
Yeah.
right? That's like the main thing. I don't care how much. I'm being an asshole when I say like don't negotiate, right?
I get
But like when it's the transparency aspect, right?
Yeah.
To understand like what does this actually look like for everybody involved?
Yeah, look, I want everyone to get paid. Whenever I'm working with someone, I want you to get paid as much money as you want to get paid, truly. And so at the end of the day, it's the transparency. I try to be transparent. I'll be like, yeah, if I can't afford you, I'll tell you I can't afford you, but I want to work with you. What can I do to ensure that I can meet some standard that you want? And I'll find a way to get there. I always do find a way to get there. So I feel you on that. I do agree with you. And we all just need, I think transparency is it.
But
That's
and it's going to be indicative, right? Like the people who handle business appropriately in the long run, like it ends up just always being indicative because then people want to like work with you, work for you, right? Because it's like they just understand the way that you operate business, right?
Yeah.
Like you're in the DJ game, right? Like I'm sure a lot of it is still relationship based, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, everything. And same with you.
Yeah, like right, like it's like yo, like I need to like. That's a very important thing. Like obviously, like we have like mutuals, right? Like, and that was able to connect us. But imagine like I just was running around crazy, or you was running around crazy. Nobody would want to connect us.
That's true. So yeah, the relationships would go a long way, which same in business. And the way I like, just like closing this point out is like, if I'm hiring you for this event and I know I'm going to do a bigger event in the future, I'm like, hey, like let's build some trust. And then next time I have a big opportunity coming, you're the first person I'm calling. So that way you get your payday, like double what you're even asking for now.
Yeah, but people like fuck that part up, right? Like they don't really understand that. Like you don't understand the opportunity that this actually is, right? So therefore you take it less seriously. But I'm like, you actually fumbled this because if you took this seriously when it was at this level, when I take it up a notch.
Yeah, dude, that's why everything, this podcast, whatever we do, you better do it like it's the NBA Finals, bro.
Of course, bro.
You never know where it's going to lead. And if you fuck this up,
bro, every little thing, like, yeah, and that's where like the people's pride comes in, right? I'm sure you're a DJ, right? You've definitely done this for 10 people. You've done this for 100 people. Wow. You've done this for 1,000 people. But like people don't take that 10 people room seriously.
Nope.
Right? It's like, yo, like it doesn't matter that like only 100 people or 200 people like are listening to this consistently, right? 100%. Like on the whole episode. I still got to give it my LeBron game throughout all of it. Because just in case somebody actually decided to listen through all of this.
Yep.
And it's somebody, I don't know.
There was, dude, like, it reminds me of one of my first gigs on 6th Street. So I used to do a lot of frat parties and things like that.
Oh, Austin 6th Street, legendary, yeah, legendary.
I finally got a gig outside of like the Greek life scene, just on my own at this bar on 6th Street. And I was like, I prepped for it like it was the biggest gig of my life. Because at the time it was. Nobody showed up to that bar that night except a group of 10 of my friends from 11:45 to 12. And the whole time I was like bummed I was playing. But then those 15 minutes I was like locked in. I was like, all right, there's 10 people here. We're going in. 2 of them ended up staying. It was the 2 of us in the bar, partied our asses off. The bar was like, oh, this was like an unsuccessful night. The relationships I built with just those 10 people, like half of them have hired me for their weddings now in the future. And the other half, a couple others are working in the entertainment industry now, and we have a good relationship. But it's because like, despite just not having a crowd, you just got to take everything so seriously. Like you got to like put your all into it.
You're not like a real professional otherwise, right? Like you think like people always talk about like, yo, like if Mike was at practice, if he was always taking it seriously because those people don't turn it off. If Kobe's playing at practice or Kobe's playing in the game, it's the same thing because the way that you do anything is the way that you do everything.
Everything. You got to show up every day. It's like, there's been a lot of people that have asked me to like, hey, could you do a song with me when I was rapping? Mm-hmm. And I was like, for sure. Like, send me your stuff so I can understand your style. And they're like, oh, I haven't started yet. And I'm like, all right, like, if I know you're not going to put in the work and be consistent on your craft, then like maybe right now is not the best time to work together. And same with DJing. People have asked me to do mixes with them, and I'm like, okay, are you posting consistently? Are you there every day? Because if you're not working harder than I am, I don't know if I want to collab with you yet. Like maybe one day we'll get there, but you got to be consistent. Like you got to put in the work. And it's just like, if you're not going 100% all the time, like I want to surround myself with people that are doing that.
Yo, I always tell people, and it's like kind of harsh, I can tell within 5 minutes of meeting you whether you're going to have a successful business or not.
Me and my wife were just talking about this yesterday. I was like, when you go look at a dancer, you're looking at a dance team, you can almost immediately tell who can dance and who's like learning, right? Just same with rapping. If I'm listening to your song and within the first like 60 seconds, I can tell, okay, like you got a lot of work to do. And I used to work on the music business side too. A lot of executives would say that about artists that come in. They'd be like, we'll know within like the first like minute if we're going to sign them or we're not going to sign them. And I was like, how do you know that? And now that I've gotten older, I'm like, you can tell who's serious.
You can tell. You can tell. You can tell. There's very practical things. There's very aura things. You can just easily tell. Everything. It takes me like 5 seconds. If at worst case scenario, I might scroll through your Instagram real quick, but I can tell immediately. Yeah. And it's like, I'm usually so right. Like I give people chances to prove me wrong just to see if like, am I as accurate as I think? Yeah. And every time they just prove me right. It's like, oh, you decided you wanted something from me. So your way of getting it was, let's collab. I already knew, but I also know why. No, like, you know what I'm saying? It's like such like small touches like that, right? It's like, that's how you approached. You don't even take this seriously. You don't take me seriously, right?
And that's the thing that kills me. And I hate, like, I don't want this to sound like an egotistical thing, but like, you immediately see who takes themselves seriously or not. But sometimes if you see that they don't and they're asking you for a favor, it's like, okay, are you trying to use me? Or like, do you care enough to like take yourself seriously before you start asking me for favors?
And so, I think that's the part that you're not realizing. Like somebody like, and again, not on like some ego thing, right? I got a lot of people in my DMs about stupid, like a bunch of shit.
100%. I'm sure.
Like a bunch of shit. And I really do try to get to as much as like, like this is my other job, right?
Yeah.
And then on top of that, doing favors for just off the strength. I don't even know these people.
Right.
But just because I know that that's what I want to do for my community, right?
Exactly.
But it's like, at least you got to take it seriously if I'm going to take my time out of it.
Exactly. And it's just like we all have busy lives. We all have our own problems, things going on. So it's just like those little things I think add up. And you just have to, eventually you get to a point where you have to put a little filtration on your own time just because otherwise you're going to drive yourself nuts.
And that's why I think like the team building, and I'm sure like you said, your manager, you're like your wife, like some things just can't come to me. Like something's just like, like straight up, like just can't, like I don't have the time anymore, right? Because it's like, like I actually have a billion other things to actually focus on right now. Any departation from that is gonna cost me like a lot.
Exactly. I used to give out my number a lot. My wife's probably laughing about this because people would DM me and be like, yo, like let's connect offline, blah, blah, blah. So I used to give out my number a lot like that. And then recently it got to a point where I was like, I can't be giving out my number all the time. Like I can't respond to all these messages. If you need something or is there something I can help you with, let me know immediately. Otherwise, like, let's keep it in the right channels of communication, right?
Yeah, it's so funny. Well, me and Wolf were talking like a couple months ago, right? And he was talking, because I was like, I respond to everybody because I truly appreciate all of it, right? Like every single piece of praise, I truly do. And he's like, there's going to just get to a point where it's unsustainable.
Always does.
Bro, immediately unsustainable. Like it's just like, it is tough, right? Because you want to, but then you're like, damn, I can't actually throw every favor, throw every alley-oop while still doing this. Right? Like it's just not possible. And then it becomes a disservice to me. And like the people that I'm building this for, and like, you know what I mean? It's like such a good tricky situation. And you still want to. There's always a healthy balance of it.
There's a balance.
But has to be taken seriously. Like
always got to keep the main thing the main thing.
Yeah,
if you start keeping the main thing the side thing, then things will start going downward.
Nah, for sure. I think we're wrapping up, but we end every pod with Call Your Shot presented by Jungly. Kind of explained it to you earlier, but call your shot. Anything, bro.
Hey man, look, we're going on a world tour. We're doing our first show in New York. We're doing a show in London. We're gonna go to Toronto and DC, and then hopefully we'll take it to even more places: India, Pakistan. And I'm hoping a year from now, we can come back here, sit on this pod, and talk about what an amazing experience that's been.
Yeah, I want to hear it after the world tour. No, I love that. I love hearing that, right? And like, I really, like, this is like the most exciting shit for me, right? Because now getting to like, meet you in person, right? And then seeing, like, because obviously I watch everybody. I'm a fan, right? Yeah. So like seeing you like cook from afar, but now getting to meet you, getting to know the person, and now you saying that and actually going to build it out, like, yo, all the blessings, yo, bro. Like, I really appreciate you doing this too.
Likewise, this pod's awesome.
Yo, appreciate it, G.
This should be episode like 229 next year.
We building. It's part of the 100 steps, baby.
I love
it's
it.
Part of the 100 steps.
Step. This is
Yeah,
a pleasure.
appreciate you. Yeah.
Keep doing your thing.
Yeah, thank y'all for listening. Peace.
Nice.
Amazing. Yeah.
Dude, you're so
Dude,
smooth with it,
dude,
dog.
you're so
smooth
good.
with it.